Hello again. Hope you enjoyed this one. On this too, we have some of the most delicious recipes you could imagine from leading raw vegan chefs.
Another thing I like about all raw food, but especially a dish like this, is you can just see how fresh it is. There's nothing processed in there. There's nothing that you have to think about what you're eating. It's just simple ingredients.
Under the main menu, when you click on nutrition, you'll discover what makes raw food so powerful in providing the body with all the nutrients we need to be our best.
You will also find out how living raw contributes to rejuvenation and longevity.
The live food protocol, which is a way of life and a lifestyle, because it isn't just live food, it's exercise, it's yoga, it's meditation, it's the whole lifestyle, the whole energy, creates an anti-aging effect.
Eating raw is really a body, mind, and spirit lifestyle. So be sure to check out spiritual aspects.
When you get out of that realm of death and destruction and eating raw living foods, I think it raises the vibrations of not only you, but everything around you.
We're here to be creative expressions of the infinite. We are the stars looking back at themselves with all of the power that's within us, so we can harvest everyone's gifts and talents and absolutely build heaven on earth.
Remember, if I can do it, anyone can. And I'm loving living raw for life.
I look for alkaline foods, alive foods, what I call water-rich foods. That means the water is still in them, the aliveness is still there, it's not all cooked out.
Enzymes are the life force of the food. When you cook anything over 118 degrees for 1 minute, it destroys all of the enzymes and most of the nutritional value of the food. Ergo, the saying in it, like David Wolfe, or the raw food lexicon, is that cooked food is poison, because it becomes something toxic for the body to deal with.
Microwave oven food is the worst. I mean, it is by far, our bodies do not recognize the structure of the proteins that the food is changed to. There's no digestive enzymes produced because you don't smell the food, you don't see the food. So cooked foods really take on a very destructive, but they're also extremely acidic and extremely addictive. So once you start eating cooked foods, you want more and more and more. And to break the cycle, you really need to do a detox or a cleanse. It really is very beneficial in helping to break that cycle of craving the cooked foods.
When you have the food in its raw condition, you have more nutrients present, you have more vitamin C, you have more minerals that are available, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
To be in good health, we want to eat a diet that's higher in nutrients and lower in calories. That means you have to eat foods that are largely high nutrient, low calorie foods. Well, the foods that are highest in nutrients are green vegetables, tomatoes, berries, oranges, carrots, and you're going to get a diet higher in fiber, higher in high nutrients, higher in phytochemicals, right? It's automatically not going to be acid forming. It's going to take all those features that each fad diet looks at are all put together when you eat a diet that's very nutrient dense.
What we've unveiled in our research is that there are 4 major components in raw living food that make them viable for healing and prevention of disease. First are hormones, second is oxygen, third is phytonutrients, and fourth is enzymes. Here we've coined the phrase hope. It's a new era of nutritional hope, and that's why living food is superior, and it makes you live longer as well as prevent and eliminate disorder.
I mean, think about pharmaceuticals for a moment. They are one isolated chemical extract, a synthesized chemical, usually something that never appears in nature and certainly doesn't appear in that concentration and in that isolation. Pharmaceuticals then become like poisons to the human body, and the side effects that you see are just the effects of the poison. But in nature, you never see a chemical isolated like that. In a plant, you might have hundreds of different phytochemicals. I mean, consider the natural medicines that are really in raw foods. These are the medicines synthesized by nature. They're like little plant-based pharmaceuticals, but they're built by Mother Nature, not by some pharmaceutical laboratory. Well, these are naturally biocompatible with the human body. So when you take those in, you get healthy because the plant actually built those medicines to keep itself healthy. And they all work in concert. There's a synergistic healing effect of those nutrients. You don't get that from a drug, but you do get that when you eat raw foods or you drink a raw food smoothie. You get those hundreds of different nutrients working in concert to heal your body and to essentially activate that healing potential that's built into your body.
Working with hundreds of thousands of people now, we've developed a quite keen understanding on what makes the anatomy of the body function and the immune system protect you. We've seen thousands, tens of thousands of people recover from catastrophic disease, and it primarily comes on a dietary level from a green food diet, with either the total elimination or short-term elimination of all fruits, and a lot of nutrition from sprouts. Sprouts are 10 to 30 times more nutritious than the best organic vegetable that you pick, wash, and eat. An average sprout like clover is 10 times more nutritious. Something like wheatgrass or sunflower greens, 30 times more nutritious.
One of the leaders in the raw food movement is Victoria Botanco. Her family's recovery from multiple illnesses is a nutritional success story.
As you probably know, my family became ill about 14 years ago. Everybody in my family became so ill that the doctors told us we don't have any hope, and I will soon die, my husband will soon die, and our children will be miserable. And I was only 38 years old, and I didn't want to die, and I didn't want my children to be miserable. So I decided to look for alternative. And I was searching and searching and searching, and I didn't give up, and finally I discovered raw food. And within 3.5 months, my family ran 10-kilometer race, Boulder. And we were feeling better and better and better. About 7 years into raw food diet, we reached the plateau. When everybody in my family stopped feeling better and better and better, we actually stopped improving. And then several months later, we started to feel backwards. We started to develop some unwanted symptoms of not perfect health. Everybody in my family developed at least one wart, which is a symptom of low immunity. And I was thinking, how in the world we're on a raw food diet that got us rid of all these horrible illnesses, how in the world we could have low immunity? It's impossible. Now we're eating better than 7 years ago because we now eat all organic, mostly local, and we now know things like food combining. I decided that I need to figure out what's going on, what's missing. So I wrote a letter and sent it to all raw food experts that I knew about in the world. And I got answers from almost everybody saying, yes, only we reached the plateau much sooner than you did. Then I asked them next question, so what do you do? One person say, I now drink goat's milk. Another person says, I add 20% cooked food to my diet. Another person says, I add this and this supplement. And all of them saying different things. Then I sent them again a letter saying, well, does it work for you? And everybody responded, not really. We are actually yo-yoing back and forth, still looking for solution. We still didn't find our balance. That something was missing. It's like it was a puzzle that didn't make no sense. I knew that in my family, that was a raw food diet that helped us to get rid of our illnesses. And now it was the same diet, even better, but now we were feeling less healthy. We did not get asthma back, or we did not get our sicknesses better, but it was still not perfect. I decided I have to make my own research because I like puzzles. I always have collections of puzzles in my home. So what I did, first I made a list of USDA recommended nutrition that humans have to consume in order to be healthy. Then I listed all the foods that exist in the world, including meats and dairy, everything. I wanted to be objective. And then I started to play around with these nutritional compounds, trying to create what would be the variations of perfect human diet that will satisfy human nutritional needs. And I suddenly discovered that there was really not so much food that is very healthy. Most of the foods have something one, something two, and then everything else is missing. Like, for example, meats have complex proteins, but it has 0 vitamin C, 0 fiber, 0 antioxidants, just really nothing else. And that was like this until I found one food that was different. When I found this food, it appeared that it's like a puzzle, fitting human nutritional needs perfectly. It was like, wow, and that was greens. The greens, they match human nutrition so perfectly. They have in them absolutely everything we need except one thing, except the vitamin B12. Everything else is in there. Essential vitamins. These are vitamins that our body needs to be healthy. Greens have all of them. That's what we need to have. That's what kale has. That's what the weeds have. Essential minerals. That's what we need to have. That's what kale has. That's what the weeds have. Essential amino acids. That's what we need to have. That's what weeds have. That's what we need to have. That's what kale has. For comparison, I placed here apples. Apples and carrots have approximately similar content of essential amino acids. And that explains, if you look at here, apples have some protein, but not a lot. And it explains why the vegetables and fruits are considered generally not really great source of amino acids, because they were not considering greens as a really source, because greens are not very popular. Not many people eat greens. If you look at greens, the numbers, the digits are the same or bigger. Like here we have 3 digits, here we have 3 and 4 digits. In apples we have 2 or 1 digits. So we see there is a big difference. And essential fatty acids. So greens have absolutely everything. And yes, most experts in nutrition in the world say you need to eat dark green vegetables. But nobody says how much. Nobody says you need to have 5 cups a day, you need to have 10 cups a day, you need to have 1 cup a day. All they say is the more you can, as much as you can. Then I decided to look in the animal kingdom and to find an animal that is the closest to humans and see what these animals eat. And I discovered chimpanzee, because chimpanzees share with humans 99.4 the same sequences of genes. I made this diagram that shows that chimpanzees consume half of their diet of fruits, and the other almost complete half are greens. So chimpanzees consume a lot of greens, and they also consume some seeds and some bark, and they consume a little bit of insects. Then I made a chart of a typical American diet, and can you find 2 differences in between these 2 charts? They're quite different. They're like opposite. This is nutritious food, low calorie, nutritious. This is high calorie, low nutrition.
Raw food nutrition is one of the greatest things out there, because it's not only healing you in terms of the diabetic symptoms and the ill health and all those problems, but it's spiritual. It's connected to the earth. I really believe that one of the things that disconnects us from the earth is because we take a natural food like this, we throw it through microwaves, roast it, broil it, extract it, add chemicals to it, put it in bags, and then sell it to people, and people eat that. Why don't you just eat it straight from the earth directly? That's the underlying teaching here. Well, when you do that, and I've been doing that for over a decade, you do get connected to God, to Mother Earth, or whatever, in a different way than you can perceive with your mind. It's a type of value that you cannot get anywhere else, or you can't imagine it. You have to experience it.
Absolutely. Your spirituality is awakened in a different way, in a different sense. There are a lot of people that come to spirituality eating a lot of bad foods too. But once you get on that bandwagon of putting God's food in you, there's a reason that every major religion has a fasting time and a cleansing time, so that we can make that connection again, so that we can get closer. So when you start to put God's foods into your body, of course that God flow that's going through you is tapped into a lot easier. And I know my own spiritual practice went up millions of degrees once my diet changed and I cleaned my body out. It made all the difference in the world.
As your physical body becomes less gross and less blocked with toxins, you automatically become a living vortex to be able to pull down the divine energy.
It puts you in touch with mankind in a different way. Your love, your heart is awakened in a different way when you're only putting God's food in, and not the death and destruction of the other animals that we share the planet with. When you get out of that realm of death and destruction and eating raw living foods, I think it raises the vibrations of not only you, but everything around you.
Everything is vibration. You know, everything is frequency. The food we eat, the thoughts we think, our intentions, our desires, it's all vibration. So beginning with food, I remember when I first became a vegetarian, it didn't have a lot to do with health. It had to do with that I didn't want a certain vibration in my body. I didn't want the vibration of a dead cow. I didn't want the vibration of a fearful chicken, or you know, entering into my body. I wanted my body to be able to maintain a certain vibration and frequency that would match my prayer life and my meditation life. That our body shall be full of light. It's all interrelated. So the kind of food we eat and the vibration that it carries, how it was taken care of, the hormones and the chemicals that are pumped into it, the rancid soil that it's grown in, all of that is frequency and vibration that can, of course, invade the body temple, the cells of your body temple. They won't replicate properly. All of that allows for other kind of toxic chemicals to move through your body, which will of course affect your mood, affect your perception. Your perception then determines your experience in life. So all of that's interrelated. You see, from the kind of food you eat, the kind of thoughts you think, the kind of actions you ultimately take, coming from a low frequency, a low vibration, you end up creating a world for yourself that's not about happiness or joy or bliss or creativity, and you kind of become part of the crowd of the walking dead, those who are sleepwalking in life.
The biggest challenge of today for human beings is there is a negative gravitational pull to go in the other direction. It really is. Everything that is insane is considered sane in my world. So it's not very easy to step outside of what's considered conventional and normal. It's very difficult to step outside of it. So if someone starts to make a change in their diet or their lifestyle, they receive a lot of ridicule. You know, it's like, what are you doing? Or that's different. Or, ew, what is that you're eating? And you become uncomfortable. And it's very easy to slide into and be comfortable with what everyone else is doing. But I do think that once you step on the path, it isn't all negative, because the body is meant to thrive. It's not only meant to survive, but to thrive. We have this inner intuition. It's a book. It's called Intuition. We know what's right. It's tapping into it.
In the journey to become a champion, there is going to be the urge to give up. There is going to be the desire to quit. And that is a natural human response, because in order to be the best, in order to change, in order to step ahead of the crowd, in order to get into something new, it takes courage. And therefore, you know, there's going to be another energy there, which is, let's get back in the comfort zone.
Even people who have a strong spiritual practice, it is wise to monitor what goes inside of your mouth, because you end up using your spiritual practice to overcome the toxic energy that you place in your body temple. So if you want all pistons firing, you know, then what you eat, what you drink, what you think, your intention, all of that's extremely important.
The opportunity for people that are struggling in life, that are having health issues, I want to encourage people to realize there aren't too many health issues that you really can't overcome. And your body has that God-given built-in remedial capabilities. All you have to do is understand that we have to live according to natural law. By living according to natural law, what you give up is going to free your body up to do what it was meant to do from the very beginning.
So when I learned from the Stanley, the fruitarian way of life, and also exercises, you know, and mental work and spiritual work on a daily basis, basically start when you get up in the morning first. You've got to be like your own kind of policeman with your own thought process, because, you know, we're bombarded with negativity and anxiety problems. People are dying, and there's accidents, and there's wars, and there's rapes, and there's horrible things going on all the time. So you always have to make sure, as much as you can, to stay in a positive frame of mind. You know, the glass is always half full, no matter what happens. And you have to pray, and you have to have faith in God and faith in yourself, and you know, find your purpose in life. It happened for me when I turned 50. I just knew I was going to be a public speaker. And it's just interesting when you know, when you make a decision and you make a commitment, how things flow into your life.
Something inside has to light up, some level of inspiration, in order to keep people going. And I believe that that inspiration is knowing that what awaits on the other side is something better than they could have ever even known.
It's a long, difficult road, but I do think that we are making inroads into it. There is an awareness. There are people waking up. It's about waking up. People are walking around asleep on our planet. They're not paying attention. You know, you hear little buzzwords of what's going on with the environment, but what are we doing in our lives specifically to make those changes? We aren't working with the whole picture enough, but I think it is, the seeds are being planted.
So mainstream people really need to get with this, because many of them are like sheep walking to slaughter. You know, they're just in a haze. They think they've arrived on the planet to be consumers. They're addicted to the next mall, the next fast food restaurant, the next bigger and brighter hamburger or something. And they're killing themselves and setting themselves up to be leached on by the pharmaceutical companies till they die. And that's not why we're here. We're here to be creative expressions of the infinite. We are the stars looking back at themselves, with all of the power that's within us being used to conform to a sick society. And now we need to set ourselves free to heal, to allow the power to express, so that we can not only be the creative individuals that we're called to be, but to then build a world in which every boy and girl, man and woman has their basic needs met, so we can harvest everyone's gifts and talents and absolutely build heaven on earth.
If we want to be alive, we must eat foods that are alive. If we want to be dead, eat dead foods. It's really as simple as that. And it's easy to find dead foods out there. Anything that's processed, that's refined, that's hydrogenated, irradiated, pasteurized, cooked, fried, anything that's exposed to high heat is a dead food. And if you eat enough of that, you're going to accelerate your own death too. Raw foods are all about reversing that, or extending your life and enhancing the quality of your life by taking in those foods that your body was meant to ingest. That's why raw foods are so powerful. That's why I make them part of my diet, and I really promote them to everyone else who's interested in lifelong health, because raw foods are the natural medicine your body needs.
The body is designed to work. It's designed to regenerate itself. This is what we're meant to do. You get new cells every 7 years. You get new tissue every 3 months. The body is in an ongoing cycle of regeneration. Why isn't it regenerating? It isn't getting the materials to do it. Enzymes, oxygen, and usable nutrients for the body.
The live food protocol, which is a way of life and a lifestyle, because it isn't just live food, it's exercise, it's yoga, it's meditation, it's the whole lifestyle, the whole energy, creates an anti-aging effect. We need to understand that diabetes is an accelerated aging process. Your arteries degenerate, your heart degenerates, your nervous system degenerates, your brain degenerates, and what you see, which is miraculous, is people are regenerating. We've turned on the anti-aging genes, which is the basic theory of the whole thing, why this works, and they've upgraded their genetic expression, and they're getting younger. And when you're getting younger, you're reversing the process and you're coming off all your medications because you don't need them, because they're for degeneration. That's the beauty of it.
Who doesn't want to look and feel as good as possible? Why have expensive plastic surgery when eating raw can give you fantastic results? Just take a look at Playboy Playmate Lillian Mueller at age 55. Wow, she looks like she's ready to do another cover.
My name is Lillian Mueller. I am from Norway. I grew up on a farm. So I was a typical farm girl from Norway, really. And I did not get into veganism or vegetarianism until I came to America. I became a vegan at 27. I was a runner-up Miss Norway at 18. That's how it started. I became a model in London in my early 20s. I was the page 3 girl in the London Sun. Then Playboy saw me. I was 24, and I got an offer to come to America and become a centerfold. The first year in America, I lived at the Playboy Mansion. Hugh Hefner was my first boyfriend here. And since I was Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, I was allowed to go in there and I'd take a chair and sit in this refrigerator and just eat, you know? Because I came from very simple circumstances in Norway. We were quite poor, actually. And I had never seen, you know, big buckets of crab legs and boiled eggs in trays and whole grilled chickens and filet mignon and salmon. So I gained 12 pounds in 6 weeks. And I was not a very healthy person. But I became Playmate of the Year. I had a big time career. I started working in American television, and Hugh Hefner and I split up after that first year. And I remember I was studying voice and acting in Hollywood Hills with a very, very interesting woman called Laura Hart. And one day she said to me, I can teach you because you have, you can collect your thought, you can concentrate, you're always depressed, you seem to be anxiety ridden and always worried about your weight, and you know, my fingers would always swell up, and I was anemic, I used to pass out all the time. And she said, you better go and see a friend of mine called Gene Stanley. And I studied then the following year with this wonderful holistic doctor called Gene Stanley. That year I became a fruitarian, actually. I did almost 1 year on fruit. It's the most extreme of raw food diets. And that really started me on this whole raw thing and, you know, becoming super healthy. Now it's been 29 years since I became a vegan vegetarian. In those 29 years, I have barely had any dairy products. And I think I've had fish a couple of times in those 29 years. I never touched meat. The fruitarian diet for me is the perfect diet. I do believe that. Though I don't always have the willpower to stay on fruitarian 100%. Or I get a little bored once in a while. You know, and also organic. You know, I don't just do fruit. When I do fruit, I do organic fruit if it's available. And they say that every 7 years your body totally changes from down to all your cells, the tissues, everything changes every 7 years. So actually, if you become raw today, or a fruitarian, or raw vegan, or whatever is your goal to be, in 7 years, which is so great about this, you know, it's not like you don't age like normal or average people, because you can start becoming like super healthy today, like a raw vegan diet, like I believe in the most, organic if you can get it. And in 7 years from now, you can become a healthier person.
You know, we understand flexibility is the contrary point to aging. With aging, there's a tendency to contract. And with youthing, there's a tendency to expand. So what we see is flexibility increases, and that's a sign of really the anti-aging process. In my own life, this physical body is chronologically 65 years old. When I was 60, I did 601 push-ups. When I was captain of an undefeated football team at Amherst College, middle linebacker, guard, I could do 70 push-ups. Here I am, 40 years later, being able to do literally 9 to 10 times more push-ups than I could do when I was a 20-year-old. But what does that tell us? It actually tells us that we are setting off an anti-aging thing, and it's not just physical, it's not just endurance. It is a sense of youthfulness, a sense of joy, a sense of happiness. Life greatly improves. Why? Because we've set up and activated the anti-aging genes. We've activated the youthing genes.
I'm Tom Harabedian. I'm 83 years old, and I have a doctor's degree in physical education. I'm interested in raw foods, and I've been taking them for some time. Well, I'm the oldest one diving now. The other divers, the older divers, as they grew older, they racked up all kinds of problems. And a good many of the divers have had knee replacements, hip replacements, back surgery, heart surgery. I've had none of those. But they say, well, we have knee problems. What are you doing for yourself, Tom? And I tell them about take Norwegian cod liver oil, eat raw foods. So this is what we're doing. And as a result, I'm still in one piece. I don't have any metal in my body. And anybody can start at any age, at any time, to get nutrition that they need for their bodies. It's healthier, you're stronger, you can do more. And according to my longevity charts that I looked at, I'm supposed to live to be 109. I don't think that'll happen, but I'm going to try anyway.
I heard something disturbing, that the average American recognizes over 1,000 logos in the plants they're associated with, and yet less than 5 plants and 5 birds in their area. My name's Brigitte Mars. I'm an herbalist, and I've been a raw foodist for over 7 years. Many years ago, I lived in a teepee and ate nothing but wild edible plants for 2.5 years. Not once did I go to a store. Everyone thinks that all our food needs to come from the grocery stores, and grocery stores are great. Organic, natural food stores are even better. Gardens are wonderful. I love farmers markets. But really, nature abounds with a living pharmacopoeia of plants that we can use. Plants like acorns, which are the fruit or the nut of the oak tree, yield a high protein, high in vitamin B complex, starch. However, you have to wait till the acorns are ripe, and then you leach them to get the tannins out. And that's simply done by soaking the acorns in water. And then you can grind the acorns up and make a porridge out of them. And you can make them into a flour to use to increase the nutritional content of whatever you're making. A lot of the wild plants are the ancestors of our culinary celebrated plants that we consume on a regular basis. And one of those is the thistle. Thistles are a member of the daisy or Asteraceae family, and this is the ancestor of an artichoke. Let's say you were hungry. You could take the young thistle stalk, peel it with a carrot peeler, and then you could eat the inner stalk. I like to marinate it in a bit of olive oil and lemon juice. You could also dig up the root really at any time of the year and eat the raw. I prefer eating it raw, but some people cook it. The thistle flowers are also edible, and you can also eat the seeds. Now, you hear a lot about milk thistle seed being a great remedy for the liver, but really all thistle seeds are edible, and they actually help to stimulate protein synthesis in the liver. A lot of birds know that thistle seeds are a great nourishing food as well as a healing tonic. I live in Colorado, and on the list of noxious weeds is the St. John's wort. However, people do go to the health food stores and buy St. John's wort because it has been found to be a remedy for mild to moderate depression. You can also eat the flowers of St. John's wort. This herb helps the light to shine through, and it helps to improve people's moods. Also, it's a wonderful liver herb. One of my favorites is dandelion, Taraxacum officinale. Dandelion, every part of it is edible. You can eat the leaves, they're best in the springtime. You can eat the flowers, and they're really high in lutein, which is a remedy for helping to improve our vision and to help prevent night blindness. And the dandelion root could be dug up at any time of the year, and you can, I like to just chop it up and add some namashoyu tamari and a little olive oil, put it in the food dehydrator for a couple of hours, and you've got a wonderful, delicious dish that is so good for your liver. I see dandelions as being one of our archetypal herbs to help people better deal with environmental pollutants. After all, the dandelion itself is a survivor, and by imbibing the properties that the plant takes on, it can help give us the same benefits. So we have here fireweed, Epilobium angustifolium, and it's one of the first things to bloom after there's been a fire. And you see a lot of this in the Pacific Northwest. One of my favorite honeys is fireweed honey, but I've also eaten fireweed as a vegetable. You collect the young shoots and the buds in the springtime, and you could add them to a salad. You could marinate them. So we've got edible flowers, edible nuts, roots. It's everywhere you look. And rather than thinking that our food always has to be purchased, I encourage you to start cultivating a garden where maybe you grow vegetables and you also learn the names of some of your common plants that offer themselves freely.
This is a workshop on learning how to make Absolutely Beaver's Crazy Crackers. The cracker that we're going to demonstrate is the barbecue chip. That's done with blended flax seeds. I tend to use more seeds than nuts. First of all, because they're a little more economical and they make a good cracker. And I like to use very simple ingredients because a lot of times there are recipes that people use, and you have to order things from like Timbuktu, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and I like whatever you have in the kitchen, that's what you can use. And most of my recipes have carrots, tomatoes, onions, garlic. I like Roma tomatoes, I like the hot house tomatoes, I like tomatoes. So in here I have the hot house tomatoes, and I like Manuka raisins, so I have those in here, okay? And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna put, which is already cut, I'm gonna put this right here. We're gonna put some onion, carrots, and tomatoes. I'm just gonna pour that right into the container. You definitely want to follow what I'm doing so that you can get the right texture, because if your mix here is too thick, the chip is going to come out chewy. If it's too thin, it's going to break all up. This here is chili powder, so I'm going to put in a tablespoon of that. And then we have some garlic. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this just one time, throw the garlic in there, and then we need the salt. And this is a sea salt, call this the real salt. And going to put this in here. It's got minerals and all that kind of good stuff in it. Just put a little bit of that in there. We're going to put in just a little bit of cumin, which I love. I'm going to put just a little bit of this in there. I didn't bring my cayenne because I would put a little bit of that in there because that's optional for this recipe. I'm going to put in some water. I'm going to do this. And I got a very simple Vitamix, on and off. You have some that have the variable speed and all that. Those are fancy, but all I need is on and off, high and low. So this is on high. I'm getting ready to turn it on. Now, something else I wanted just to tell you. You will know when everything is blended up, when you don't hear all that knocking. You know, that was the raisins and the dehydrated tomatoes in there. So you want to make sure that you do not hear that. Okay, this looks pretty good. Now this is kind of dark because the dehydrated tomatoes that I used were dark. And that's why it's very individual. Some people want a little more of this, some people want a little more of that. Experiment, there's not any really correct way. If I use a Meyer lemon, this is not a Meyer lemon. Meyer lemons are a lot sweeter. So the taste of something that I thought was going to be a certain way, it changes if I use a Meyer lemon. If I use a Roma tomato, it's going to be a different flavor. If I use a hot house tomato, it's going to be different. So depending on what you like, that's what you want to use. What I'm going to do is take the flax seeds that have been soaked. I soaked these overnight, okay? And we're going to put, I'd say about a cup in this amount of liquid. Maybe a little bit more, because you want it to be a little bit slimy, but not where you can drop it and it's going to drop without being like, but it'll, you know, really get down in there, okay? And then, say if you put in too much flax seeds and it's just too thick of a batter, just add a little water to it, just to thin it out a little bit. Okay? You want the flax seeds to be totally blended. Sometimes you might have some that's a little bit, you know, not mixed up, but that's okay. When you drop it on the Teflex sheet, and people say, how do you get them so perfectly round? I don't get them perfectly round. All I'm doing is just dropping it, bam. And I'm gonna do that around, bam. That is the conclusion of our class.
My name is Sherry Soria, and I'm the founder and director of Living Light Culinary Arts Institute in Fort Bragg, California, where we have an entire culinary center based on healthy living. I'd like to introduce to you my husband and partner, Dan Latterman.
Good morning.
And we want to show people who have perhaps never really been involved in the raw food diet to the point where they've changed their tastes. They still really want to know that they can have the foods that are familiar, that feed them emotionally. It's going to be a whole lot better than something that you could get that was made with white sugar and white flour and not organic ingredients and so forth. We're going to start by making a very simple vanilla cream. You always want to put your liquid ingredients in your food processor first. So I'm going to start with some liquid. And I'm not going to use quite all of it. I'll add a little bit extra if I need to. All right? And the reason is that I want to have some amount of control over how thick my sauce is. So I'm going to hold a little bit off. These are cashews that have just been soaked. That's all. They've been soaked for a couple of hours. Now you could use different kinds of nuts here if you want. I'm choosing cashews because I didn't have to peel any skins off of them. It doesn't take as long to make it smooth as it would if I used macadamia nuts, which you could use for this. You could also use pine nuts, but pine nuts have a very strong pine flavor, so I would mix pine nuts with a different kind of nut if I wanted. But just about any kind of white nut would work fine to make this cream. So we're going to do that. We're also going to sweeten our cream with agave. So in the other world, the cooked world, we would be using a dairy cream probably, or if you were a cooked vegan, you might be using tofu as your cream sauce. Of course, it would taste a little beany. So that was my sweetener, and now I'm going to use a flavoring. This is an organic vanilla extract, and you could use a whole vanilla bean if you wanted to, and it would have little flecks of brown in it, and that would be fine. You could certainly do that. I'm starting it on variable. I turn it on, start it on low, and I'll be turning it up slowly. Okay, you'll notice when I turned it off, I turned it down to variable, and then I took it from 10 down to 1 before I turned it off. And what I was looking for when I was watching this go around was I was looking for a silky, smooth texture where the light just created a sheen over the top. Until that happens, everything is still a little bit gritty, and you never really see the sheen that the light makes on the surface. So that's what you're looking for, is that satiny sheen. And this is a beautiful cream sauce now. And it's rather liquid, but it's going to thicken as it sits. So that's what we want. And I will need a spatula to get all of this goodness out of here. The next thing we're going to do now is we're going to make a chocolate mousse. And once again, we're going to need a little bit of water. And I have saved a little water here. Actually, I need a whole quarter cup of water. Now, if I wanted this to be a sauce, I could add considerably more water to this mixture, but I want this to be a mousse. And this has no nuts in it. This mousse is made with a base of avocado. So I'm just going to remove the seed. And all I'm going to do is place these avocados now in my blender, and I can use a spoon to just scoop these avocados out. And they're beautiful avocados, but I always turn them over to make sure there's nothing brown in there, because the brown part is just a little bit bitter. And of course we have to have a sweetener, and I'm going to be using 2 sweeteners for this. One will be agave nectar, which is a low glycemic sweetener, liquid, clear, and nearly tasteless. So we're going to use that. And we're going to add a different sweetener that you could choose to use or not, depending on how you feel about it. This is called Rapidora, and it's a whole food sugar that is actually cane juice that's been flash dehydrated. So it's evaporated cane juice. Now, it's not really a raw product, but I'm using it because it adds a certain depth to the chocolate that I really like. And I actually really prefer to use it a little bit of it, but if you wanted to use this with only agave nectar, of course you could, and then it would be all lower glycemic. Now I'm using a little bit of vanilla, not a lot, and again, you could use the whole vanilla bean if you wanted, and just a pinch of cinnamon. And I think that's all. We have avocado, cocoa powder. No, we can't forget the most important ingredient here, cacao powder or cocoa powder. And you can use raw cocoa powder, or depending on your commitment to raw, you could use toasted cocoa powder as well. Snap it on, and once again we're keeping it on variable, and we're going to turn it on, and we'll start it out slowly, and we can add extra water to it if we need to. But I'm going to take the lid off and help it with my spatula. So I want it to make it as thick as possible, and that's why I'm doing this. So here's my chocolate sauce. It's actually pretty easy to make, and look at how thick and wonderful that is. Isn't that beautiful? This is going to be one over-the-top dessert. Okay, so let's put some vanilla cream in our parfait. Vanilla cream in one. And strawberries. On top of that. This is looking really nice. And then we could put some chocolate on top of that. All right, a layer of chocolate. Press that into place. One more thing, I've got an idea. Let's take one of these beautiful berries here just to finish it off. It's not quite complete yet in my mind. And I'm going to show you how to make a little strawberry flower. Just slices, just like so. Okay, just like that. No, that finishes it off, doesn't it? Just that little, doesn't it make a difference? Just that little bit. Bravo. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a lovely dessert there. Oh my gosh, that would be a meal for me. In fact, I think I'd have to have it. Actually, I think I'd have to have salad and that because that would help to balance it out.
So we're going to make a milk because the two things that people really sort of are craving, you know, is the starches and now dairy. So we've got to learn how to make milk and cheeses and things like that. So we're going to make some milk. We make amongst the best milk in America. So what are we going to do? We're going to make this out of almonds. And almonds are really one of the most alkalizing of all nuts, basically, really. I'm going to put a coconut in here because we just have that and it's just going to really assist to help make that flavour taste really nice. I'm going to put a little bit of lecithin in here and I'm going to show our audience how to make an emulsification. And now we're going to put a little bit more coconut. This is a really good one because this particular coconut is a coconut that's been spun and so there's no water in it at all. It's just a great grade. I'm one who goes for honey from fruit trees, unmixed and unheated. Because it promotes florification. So we're going to put some honey, and then I do have a little bit of agave here too. So I'm going to put a little bit of agave in this, just so that it's not all honey. It's like, you know. But you'd be surprised that it's very little sweet really in this milk. All right, so let's start with the coconut, and it's amazing because these coconuts, I see people and oh my God, it's so amazing the amount of work that they do. But it really is no need to do any work to cut the coconut open. And all you do is just make a little hat out of the top of it and you keep it all together because you don't want to be picking things up off the kitchen. See, look, that's the little hat. So, and then what you've got is a little chrome dome on this, which is quite nice. And some people are very intuitive. You can just sort of tell where to poke it a little bit, you know, and you just poke just a little bit, you know, and like that, you know. This is really wonderful to drink out of. Whereas the way that people do that I've seen, you know, with other chefs and stuff, they're whacking them and oh my God, help us, it's like somebody's hit it with a chainsaw. But this is really good, it's really perfect to be able to drink out of. We're going to bring this coconut in a second, but now we're going to make an emulsification here. So we're going to bring a little lecithin in. We talked about how wonderful that is in assisting to melt cholesterol and assist to help make the fats of things that's going in this milk more water soluble and things. A little chemistry. And now I'm going to put some honey in there, about a half a cup of honey or sweet in this. Just a tiny little bit of agave in there too. Okay, so now I'm going to put some salt, and it's about 2 teaspoons worth of salt there. Now I've got vanilla bean because it's so delicious, you know, the vanilla bean. We're going to just put that straight in. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of coconut butter in here, and this is to really provide a nice delicious cream for the milk. That's plenty. And now we have salt, vanilla bean, we have a little bit of sweet, either honey or agave. I have sun-dried sea salt in there, coconut fat. I'm going to put a little bit of hot water in there. Right. Now I'm going to make an emulsification. Okay, so I'm going to use the, I'm just going to pour this and get that ready to put in later. Okay, and so now what I want to do is go ahead and use the blender, and you're going to put 3 handfuls of almonds in, just 3 handfuls. And now we're going to add water to this. We have some unbelievable water. This water happens to come from Mount Shasta. Such incredible water. It's like a water from a fruit, and it's a mature water, which most of the water people are using on the earth at the moment is not mature and hasn't gone through its full hydrological cycle. So we're going to just put that much because it sort of expands. So, and now we're going to cut that down. That's going to about take 2 minutes. So I'm going to put this on, and we're going to come back in a second here. So now we have a bowl, and going to, you might find something like this. I've got cheesecloth that I often use. This is what we have in the studio here today. So that's what we're going to use. These are sprout bags. And now I'm doubling them up because I don't want any sediment in there at all. None. I want it to really be milk. There should be no sediment in there, honestly. You know, it's nice culinary milk. Now, why am I straining this? I really want to do what I can to get rid of all of the husk that was on the outside of that nut. And so now this is a really great paste that's left over, which I use to make a great bean paste, you know, for burritos, rather than beans. This is a protein which is much more digestible, basically. So look at that, that's already starting to look like milk. Okay, so now I want to put the coconut in, coconut water, okay, and we're going to put a little more water in here. We're going to add a bit more water in a moment to that as well, a bit more than what we have here. Blend this up. Okay, so now we have like the cream, really, of the milk and salt. For those people who are really culinary artists, if you would like to go beyond a little more in the recipe of things, of course, you could bring some Irish moss, which is so wonderful to help thicken and bring a little bit more texture to the milk. You can bring cinnamon in, a little cinnamon in, to help assist with blood sugar regulation things. So great idea, go ahead, make your own milk. The trees promote shade, wonderful, brings water to the surface of the earth. And the sweet that you're making here with is a sweet, which is a sugar which is managed by your liver. Well, I'm Dr. David Jubb. Really great to be with you here today. It's amazing that actually someone would have a doctor prepare your food. I mean, but that's what's going to happen here. It is so amazing, actually, you know, that it would really be important that people could remember that actually it really is their food much more, that is their medicine. And the doctors of the future are doctors that really are educating people how to care for themselves, so that's what we're going to be doing today. And I happen to be a neurobehavior physiologist and cytologist. Does anybody know what that means? Studying of cells, and microbiologist. And really looking at things below the level of the cell. But this is a live food dish, and it really is where everybody's sort of looking around for some starch or something to actually really fill what you do, you know what I mean? And everybody can love to make sauces and stuff like that, but gee, who knows how to make a nice rice, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't we want to make rice? It's got a strange, undigestible protein in it, and it has runaway sugars in it as well. So I'm going to make this out of things that you have at home, and this is organic cauliflower, and this is a jicama root, very water rich and delicious, and these are the I'm going to put some onion in this just to give it a little savouriness. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil, and we're going to put a little bit of some soaked and sprouted sunflower seed to give it a little bit of crunch. and some parsley. I'm going to put some parsley in there. So they're the ingredients of this. It really, they're amazing. So let's go to work with this. This is a fairly easy one to peel, but you just simply want to get the outer rind off. As we said, you know, most people are sort of looking around for something starchy to go with their meal, and something that's sort of like breadish sort of thing. And so that's what this is. There's wonderful amounts of vitamin C and flavonoids, vitamin C-like properties and things in this. And so you're going to cut them up into small enough shape, enough for it to really be able to cut down easily in the food processor. Okay, let's cut this down. Look, it's nice and fluffy and light. I haven't cut it much because I want it to sort of have a little texture. People love texture, you know, it shouldn't just be mush, you know what I mean? So we're cutting things to have a nice crispness, and we're thinking about texture when we make the food, and look at that, so fluffy and light. It's so delicious, all right. So now what I would do straight away with that is I want to put something on that straight away to preserve it quickly, because I've just cut it up and I want to preserve everything for people when they go to eat this. And so what have I got here? Lemon. Lemon is so incredible. I'm just going to make a tiny little bit of zest out of the peel, and occasionally you're going to come across that, and it's sort of just something fresh there, occasional. Do some of the next vegetable, which is the cauliflower. I think I'm going to... But this is a recipe that really doesn't require anything much, you know what I mean? It's so simple to do. And now we're going to do the same. I'm going to bring that close by. It's so simple. You've got just a food processor. There's no cooking, no time wasted cooking and things. And in live food, we're doing everything we can to promote florification of the earth, because that is the major thing that's on the decline, seriously. Okay, so let's cut that. Okay, now I'm really looking to see that I don't want to cut it up too much. I want to make it still fluffy and light. I don't want to turn it to mush, because it's got to be like rice. You know, you got to watch that. Now I'm going to put a little bit of onion in there. So I'm going to just cut that up by hand. I think it's so important that not everything goes in the machine. This provides a little bit of colour. Okay, so now let's see. I'm just going to put some parsley in here. It's so incredible. We've got B12 analogue material and things within this. There's chromium. There's incredible things for blood sugar, and this is sort of broom material. Now this is so delicious that I really don't want to waste anything. I really want to do what I can to cut everything up as I can to put this in. This green is wonderful in this dish, and the green makes clean. So I'll just leave that just for this moment. See here now. Now I'm going to put a little bit of oil over the dish, and that sort of provides a nice savouriness, and that oil that I just put on assists to help all of the fat-soluble nutrients, the vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin K, vitamin D, all of the fat-soluble vitamins are more absorbed as a result of bringing a little bit of oil to come to be, increasing the ability for this meal to have a good job inside. One last thing, just for this segment, I hope that you're enjoying this. Salt. This is a salt, and this is sun-dried sea salt, which is the only salt that I use. The vast majority of salts on the market really are poisons, and we should project the skull and crossbones onto those salts. I'm going to just give that just a quick little bit of a light toss. And that's it. Now I don't want to toss that much. I want to just really not play with it much at all. And now I have some of these sprouted sunflower seeds. I put a little bit of these in for some crunch, and they really don't have that much taste really. And it's a nice sort of a bland thing as well. Let's see here. So here you have a really great dish, very simple. Gosh, hey, didn't require anything fancy or anything, and it is delicious, and it takes the place of rice.
We're starting with something which most people in the cooked world know, apple pie.
Oh, nice. Okay, how do we get started?
We have to start days ahead of time. In the raw world, there's a lot of food preparation going on. So for example, if you notice here, we have almonds. We actually soak this beforehand. The almonds are soaked 8 hours to 48 hours ahead of time. That not only removes the resin, which is actually toxic, but it also takes out a lot of the fat, and it makes the actual nut or the seed more digestible. You see, we also have walnuts here. This, however, must be soaked 48 hours. This is 8 to 48. This must be 48. The water has to be changed, and it has to be rinsed every morning and every evening. So there's a lot of work that goes into it beforehand. You'll see that we'll make this pie really fast today. The real work came beforehand.
Okay.
So we're going to start with the crust, since you already have the almonds there. And we're going to take a food processor, and we're going to throw these almonds. Now, this is 1 1/4 cup of almonds before you soak them. After you soak them, they'll become 2 cups.
They expand.
Exactly.
Okay.
So if a recipe calls for 2 cups, you know that we're pre-soaking it as 1 1/4. And I see you've got the dates there. Dates are what we're going to be using as a sweetener. We open up the dates, totally open them up, totally expose the inner workings of the date, and then we'll take the pit out. We now put this in the food processor, and we also did something else before. We took an orange, took the zest of the orange, and we have a special equipment for that, and we will now process it. All we need is to make sure that it is chopped up. We've got 2 days left over, and we're going to actually put some flaxseed oil in the pie dish, and we're going to take a brush, and we're just going to make sure that you distribute it evenly there. And we're going to make the crust now by just emptying this in here, so there's no flour. As we start working with it, you know, what you're doing when you're working with food is you're transferring your own energy into food. So send the energy of love into it, and you will see that it responds in kind. So if you want to go and play with this, sure and love to do this.
Okay, you smush it all around up on the sides as well, too,
Yes.
right?
We smush it.
Smush. Are we done with these?
Yes, we are. So if you notice here, Lauren, this, we have here the apples that have been soaked in lemon juice. Here, we have soaked it with apple juice, and that's to keep the moisture intact. So we've got Macintoshes, we've got Gala, we've got Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, all kinds. What we're going to be doing now is creating the filling. So the filling, what we're going to be doing first is taking the dates that have already been pre-soaked. Here they are, and they've been soaked in apple juice. So we're going to put this in here now, and this is the only thing we're going to process. So what you could do is you can start putting the filling in here, which is you can put half of this and half of this into the large bowl while I make this. So we're going to be now taking this, and we're going to be adding it in there as well, if you don't mind adding that, please. Thank you, Lauren. Then we're going to be also using the seasonings and the spices. We're going to be using nutmeg. This is the cinnamon. You are?
I smell
then you'd
everything
love
I
raw. And then we're adding some of this lemon zest. This is 1 teaspoon of the lemon zest. So we've chopped up the dates that were pre-soaked and dehydrated, so you may go ahead and add that if you wish. And these are the raisins that we've also pre-soaked, and that goes in there as well. So this is pretty easy. Once you've done the prep work, this is very, very easy. This is the easiest part, to be quite honest. And we're going to fill the pie dish. So we've got the crust, and you see the crust is already set. You can also take the crust and put it in the refrigerator for 2 hours. And while you're cutting this up and making this, and then bring it back out, it will actually set even better. Here we have the apple pie. There's no cooking done here.
It smells amazing. Compared to a cooked apple pie, this smells fresh and just like apples.
You keep doing that while I wash the hands, and I prepare now for the almond cream. So here we have the almonds, which have the skins off. So this would be equivalent to blanched almonds in the cooked world.
Okay.
So we simply sit down, we peel it off. It's very time consuming, and it's really a great practice in meditation. So
now how much is that, about a cup?
This here is actually a cup or a cup and a half. It's really up to you how much of it that you want to make.
Okay.
And then we're going to put in just a half a teaspoon of the vanilla.
Vanilla.
So it's not very much. And then we're going to be using these dates, but this time we're going to keep the water, because this will need liquid to move. So we're going to liquefy it. Now we're going to make the almond cream, creating that and just go around with it.
Okay.
And I will have this one here. I'm going to show you now the difference between the other cream, which I made beforehand. So this is what we have, the finished product here. So you can see they're the same apple pie, they look differently. So you simply, this is more the French way of doing things. Looks more like a tarte.
Yes, it does.
So that's why we have it that way. So it's really up to you, you can play with it. And now we're going to play some more. And these are edible flowers.
Really?
And so we can either put this on the pie, or we can put it around the pie to decorate it as well. And you can even put it on top to decorate it a bit.
They're very pretty, they add a lot of color.
Exactly, exactly. And so for festive occasions. So we're going to be remembering as you do this, that this has no eggs in it. So you've got to be very careful how you lift it out. There you are. We'll give you a fork with that. I already have one, okay. The taste.
Wow. Wow. This is the best apple pie really I've ever had. I love it. Seriously, this is the most amazing thing I've ever tasted.
My name's Melissa Davison, and I'm owner and chef of Terabella Cafe, raw food, living cuisine in Redondo Beach. I came to eat raw foods, or I got interested or enlightened about raw foods about 8 years ago. I had a personal trainer who was helping me do dance competition, and so he recommended, why don't you try raw foods? And I thought, raw foods? You mean just nuts and berries and fruits and vegetables, that's it? Where am I going to get my protein? And after researching a little bit on my own, I was convinced, and then on a mission. The results happened immediately. You know, I mean, I would eat the raw food. My friend would make some crazy green drink or a smoothie. My spirit started getting lighter. I started shedding excess weight. I was never a big person, but I mean, things that were just on my body just started improving. You know, my complexion started getting sharper. Even my eyesight started getting better. And then, you know, 7 years later, opening a restaurant, which I had no idea that I was going to do. Today, I'm going to be making mango coconut chutney. For this recipe, you're going to need 1 large mango, peeled, 3 green apples, chopped or shredded, 1 cup of red onions, diced, 1 cup shredded coconut, 1 teaspoon or a pinch of cayenne pepper, depending on how spicy you like it, 2 teaspoons of allspice, a pinch of salt, 1 teaspoon of cardamom, 2 tablespoons of agave nectar, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Let's start by peeling our luscious mango. Mangoes, when you want to choose them, you want to make sure they have a little give when you press into them. You don't want them too green and unripe looking. These black spots are wonderful. They're a good sign that you have a nice, organic, ripe mango. Sometimes if the mango is ripe, what it'll do is right under the skin, it will just kind of peel itself. So if you can get up around the nose of the mango and kind of loosen it, it should be just peeling back. See how nice that is? It's like peeling an orange. Okay, the seed is located right in the center of the mango, and so it makes this nice teardrop shape. So you want to go for the center and just to the right or the left. You can kind of feel where the seed is. Maybe going from the other side will be easier. And then once the blade goes in, go straight down to the cutting board. And the knife should go to one side of the seed. And then do the exact same thing on the other side. Stand it up on its edge, move your fingers out of the way, and go right down to the cutting board. Voila. And then you just chop nice cubes out of your mango. Shovel your mango into the mixing bowl. Okay, so we're gonna move to our next fruit for the coconut mango chutney, and we're gonna do green apples. For this, you can chop it or you can use a shredder. This time I'm gonna chop it so we have nice big chunks of apple. Okay. Once you have all your apples chopped, you just grab them and place them right into the bowl with the mangoes. Okay, next we're gonna do our red onion. We need at least 1 cup. I'm gonna give these onions another little chop straight through the stack that we made. Okay, so we've got approximately 1 cup, so there's no need for this other onion. So we're gonna put this right on top of the green apples, on top of the mangoes. Okay, so now that we have all of our fruit and onion in the bowl, now for the spice. Let's start actually by adding our dry coconut, about 1 cup. These are all warming spices that I'm using today, the cayenne, the cardamom, and the allspice. They're really great during colder weather, so if it's summer and you're not really in the mood for something that's going to heat your digestion up, you can hold back on all these herbs and just add more coconut, more lemon juice, and make it more summery. But if you're in the winter and you want to keep yourself warm, add more of these spices. So once you have it all mixed and all the spices evenly distributed, you can set it aside and let it marinate for just about 30 minutes or more. Mango coconut chutney for any meal of the day.
Hello, my name is Enway Nakai and I'm the owner and culinary designer of Taste of the Goddess Cafe. And today I am going to show you how to make one of our favorite dishes that we have at the restaurant. It's our coconut enchilada wrap, and I'm going to tell you what everything is made out of and what some of the ingredients are good for. This is the enchilada wrap. This really pretty thing is made from sun-dried tomatoes. We blend sun-dried tomatoes, and coconut flesh, and then we dehydrate the mixture. And it dehydrates for probably anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. So it does take a while. It's a labor of love for us. We have a creamy ricotta. A lot of people are like, ricotta? The ricotta is made from macadamia nuts. We blend macadamia nuts, garlic, and spinach to make this really yummy mixture. And it's very thick and creamy like real ricotta, and it tastes like real cheese as well. We mix spinach, zucchini, corn, tomatoes, and some avocado in it. At home, you can put whatever you want to put in it. Some people, they like to add mushrooms to their enchiladas or other different types of squashes and that sort of thing. But we stick with spinach, zucchini, corn, tomatoes, and avocado. We top the enchilada with a chipotle cheese. And this chipotle cheese is made from chipotle peppers, some more tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes, and the base of it is pine nuts. Oh, and we're also going to put some salsa on top as well. Very important. And so first what we do is we just layer it with some of the creamy ricotta. I like to ribbon chop my spinach. That's more pleasant to the palate. I'm just gonna layer it with the zucchini a little bit. Then we have our corn. Chop up these tomatoes a little bit. This is a really nice, creamy avocado. The creamier the avocados, the better. And now we're just going to scoop it all together and wrap it up. And the wrap is pretty dense. It acts as any tortilla wrap that may be cooked because it's really, really dense. The dehydration has really made it a very dense texture. And then we're just gonna put it on our plate. And we're gonna layer it with the chipotle. The chipotle cheese is pretty spicy because of the peppers. So I'm not gonna put that much on it. And you know, everything about raw food is about decadence and beauty and art. So we always want to keep things very pretty looking. Appetizing to the eyes and appetizing to the palate, and very good for the body. And voila, there's our enchilada.
Welcome to my family kitchen. We're going to make for you today a wrap, something we're famous for at Leaf Cuisine. I'm going to show you how easy it is, and there's a million ways you can do this. And here we go. So I'm going to start with a collard green. This is nature's perfect wrap. It's all I did was take a knife and cut off the spine a little bit so it's a little bit less chunky in the spine section. I'm going to take some greens here. This is just mixed greens, spring mix, mesclun green, goes many different names. I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil because olive oil is so good. And then I'm just squeeze a little bit of lemon in there. Okay. Now we're ready. I'm gonna see, this is the beauty of the wraps is you can just make whatever you happen to have available. So I've got some red bell peppers. So I'm gonna chop up some red bell peppers and I'm just gonna lay those across here. And I've got some beautiful cucumbers, perfect for hot weather. So I'm gonna put some cucumber slices in here. And let's see, I've got some, look at this, black tahini. Fantastic stuff. It's delicious, full of all kinds of good stuff like calcium and protein. And delicious. Great at making tahini. And let's see, I've got some sauerkraut, some raw sauerkraut. I'll put a little of that in there. So I think you're getting the idea here. Basically, we're just going to throw everything that looks good, feels good, we're going to throw it in a wrap. I got some mung bean sprouts here. Stick some of those in there. And I've got some sunflower seed sprouts. I'm going to chuck some of those in there. I've got some spring onions. That might be nice. Let's put some of that in as well. Okay, and I've got some avocados as well. Why not a little avocado? Look at the sandwich we got here. All we do is throwing a few things together that we happen to have in the kitchen. And now we're ready to do the final move, which is the wrap. So I'm just gonna, it's just like wrapping a burrito, just bring this around. I'm gonna tuck it in here a little bit, bring the sides around if I can, and then I'm gonna continue the final wrap around. A little pressure, cut it with a knife. Dish it. Ready for lunch? This is just the whatever you got around wrap. Well, welcome to my little kitchen. This is where my family makes all our food. And we're going to make a very simple salad, which we have a lot. It's our sort of our favorite family salad, and it's a kale salad. Now, my approach to cooking in general is I think it's best to let the food speak for itself. So often the simpler the recipe is, the better it is. And I'm going to teach you a recipe. You don't need any fancy machinery. All you need is a knife and a cutting board. And I think you might like this one. So we're going to start with some kale. It's just going to peel off the leaf and leave the stem. Green leafy vegetables are really, in my opinion, the most important food for human beings, which is why my restaurants are called leaf cuisine. So green leafy vegetables also make life possible on the planet by creating chlorophyll. People don't realize there's a lot of protein in green leafy vegetables. We've been brought up to think that you need to have eggs and meat and dairy. It's totally untrue. Broccoli and kale have a ton of protein in it. Okay, so start with some nice kale. Now, people usually use kale actually for decorating foods. You see it in a lot of salad bars and stuff. But because it's kind of, it's kind of curly and, it's hard to swallow. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this down a little bit. Using our hands, we're just going to take it and we're going to rip it into little pieces. And you can make it as small as you like. All right, so far pretty simple, right? Okay, so we start off with our kale in small little pieces. Now we're going to take a nice ripe avocado. Avocados are one of my favorite foods. And we're going to start off with a couple of avocados. And I'm just going to scoop out the avocado into our bowl. I think maybe 1.5 might be about enough for this amount of kale. Okay, now we're going to put a little bit of salt in here, probably about a good teaspoon of sea salt. And the coarser green sea salt is actually good in this recipe. And we're going to take some lemon, and we're going to add that as well. Now you can take your lemon, you can juice it separately. I'm going to show you a real easy way to juice lemons. You just take your fork and your lemon and you twist and turn. And you're going to get all the juice out real quick and easy. You're going to get some seeds in there, but that's okay. Whole foods, right? I think that half a lemon, these are big lemons, so I think that might be enough. Okay. And I'm going to put a little bit of cayenne in. Now, this is a really, really good cayenne. It's extremely spicy, so I have to be very careful. Okay. So far, so easy, right? Now all I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to actually prepare my tomato in advance. So first I'm going to get these tomatoes sliced. Okay. And now I'm going to put a little basil in here. We grow some in our garden, this lovely basil. So I think I'm going to use a little bit of that as well. Like every time you make this salad, you can make it different. Look at what's in your garden, what's fresh in that season, what can you buy. Add a little bit of that. It's a million iterations of how you can make a simple kale salad. It doesn't take much basil. Okay, so now the fun part. Hands get in, and you get to squish all this stuff up. Add the tomatoes in now. Set around a little bit more. We can add some spreaded mung beans in as well, but you don't need them, but they're nice little addition. And here we have this beautiful little salad. It's delicious. So there it is, our simple family kale salad recipe. No fancy machinery required. Enjoy.
I was born in the United States in a typical American family, eating typical American food. I became a vegan when I was about 27, 28 years old. And then 10 years ago, I became 100% raw. Min was born in Vietnam, 1950. She grew up eating, from what I talked to her, I would say roughly 95% raw. We're gonna make a fried rice that is not fried and is not rice. So Min, you want to start making the fried rice and I'll explain what you're doing. Yes. She's going to start off with the fried rice. We're going to use some chopped vegetables. And she's already chopped some up, but just to give you an idea, this tool that she's using is called a kai bao. This one that she has in her hands was given to her by her mother. How long ago, Min? 20 years ago. Have you ever sharpened it, Min? It's sharp, but she's never sharpened it. But if you use it for vegetables, you can use it forever and you won't have to sharpen it. If she's not going to use it for a long time, she'll put a little drop of olive oil on it and rub it around with a paper towel and it stays perfectly clean. For this dish, this is one of the techniques that I want to share with you. She's chopping everything really small because what we want to do is spread the flavor out throughout the dish. We're trying to create a fried taste without frying something. And if you just eat a vegetable, like you take a bite out of a carrot, it's going to taste a lot different than if you shred it or if you slice it into small pieces. So she's starting off with carrot. And yeah, these bowls are approximately 1 cup. So it's an equal amount of the vegetables. We're using about 1 cup today. 1 cup of zucchini, 1 cup of celery. And now she's going to add some broccoli. And just like if you were making fried rice that you were frying, put in whatever you like. If you want to put in mushrooms, put in mushrooms. Put in whatever you like.
1 cup tomato.
Fresh tomato, 1 cup of fresh tomatoes. We're going to use wild rice. Now, if you've never used wild rice, you can buy this at Wild Oats or any of the big markets and buy a package of wild rice. It comes several ways. We like to find the kind that's called scarified, and what that means is they put it in a food processor and chip the rice. If you don't buy the scarified, put it in your food processor, pulse it for about a second, and what that will do is chip the rice so the water will enter the rice and the rice will be a lot softer. You'll have a lot more success with it. So what we do is we soak the rice overnight. Sometimes it'll take a day, depends on the humidity, it depends on the temperature, it depends on where you're at. Sometimes it'll depend on the quality of the water, but we'll just soak the rice in water, no cooking, soak it in water for a day usually, sometimes 2 days. The way you tell is you just take a little bit out, chew it. If it chews well, it's ready. And one of the great things about this dish is she's mixing that. And the wild rice, Min, what do you think you have there? A cup or 2 cups? How much wild rice did you start with?
Oh, a half cup, more than a half cup.
A cup and a half? A cup and a half. So we've got, again, 1 cup each of zucchini, carrot, celery, fresh tomatoes, a cup and a half of the wild rice, and she's going to put maybe about a cup of the sun-dried tomatoes. If you buy the dry ones in a package, you can just take them out of the package, soak them in some water, and then take them out after a couple hours and they'll be ready to use. These, again, we grew them. We're using Roma tomatoes exclusively. We cut them, we take the seeds out, We cut them into thin slices, about maybe a quarter of an inch. We put them in a bowl. I say we, meaning she. We put them in a bowl, and we marinate them overnight in olive oil. Correct me, Min. Now, olive oil, garlic, salt, sea salt, pepper, little black pepper,
and oil.
and dried Italian seasonings. Same dried Italian seasonings that we just buy in the store. We marinate them in those, in a bowl, maybe turn them over once in the morning. We take them out, we set them on a dehydrator sheet, or where we live, we actually set them outside and they dry in the sun because it's very hot in Arizona where we live. Now this is fresh mint. She's gonna chop up the fresh mint. Another thing I like about all raw food, but especially a dish like this, is you can just see how fresh it is. You can just see how virgin it is. I mean, there's nothing processed in there. There's nothing that you have to think about what you're eating. It's just simple ingredients. And okay, Ben, go ahead and finish up.
And this is pepper.
Little black pepper.
Little black pepper and
A little bit of sea salt. About, when I say a little bit, it's about a quarter of a teaspoon for this recipe.
a little bit sea sauce.
A spoon of the toasted sesame oil. Of course, there's two kinds of sesame oil, toasted and untoasted. Toasted is not raw, but if you don't use toasted, you're not going to get an authentic Oriental flavor. These are teaspoons. Teaspoon of olive oil. 2 teaspoons. That's pretty much it, isn't it, Min? There's nothing else to go in there, I don't think. And again, the secret to making this work is to chop the vegetables into those small pieces. Spread the flavor around. Okay, so Min's getting ready to make the spring rolls. You're gonna start with the sauce first?
Yes.
Okay, and so Min's gonna show you now how to make the sauce with all raw ingredients.
We cut 1 orange.
We're gonna start with the juice from 1 orange. It'll be anywhere between 3/4 of a cup and a cup. Now for this recipe, again, because we're not using the bottled sauce, we will use the blender. You don't have to use a blender. She could mix it by hand or with a hand blender, but because we're here and time is limited, we're gonna use a blender. Now she's getting ready to put a little garlic in there. So what have we done so far? You got the orange juice in there. We've got about 3/4 of a cup of orange juice. And now she's going to use some chili. You can use fresh chilies, dried chilies. If you can find bottled chilies that are just the plain chilies, you can use those. What did you put in? A spoon of chili? 1 teaspoon of chili?
1 teaspoon chili and 3 spoons the
3 teaspoons of tahini. Oh, it's sesame tahini. Now she's going to put in 3 teaspoons of miso. We always use the light mellow miso for almost all of our recipes. Do we use the dark miso for anything, Min? Just the light miso? Now that we're going to use some nama shoyu. Again, it's just unpasteurized soy sauce.
and now I start to make the cut the meat.
Okay. So you see how easy that sauce was? It's very simple, all natural ingredients. Gonna chop up some mint again. In the bowl here, she has jicama and carrot. She's gonna make julienne strips I hope I'm saying that right, Julianne strips with her tool, and you watch how she does it. She's going to first make the flat strips. This is jicama. Just to save time, she already sliced everything up. Use the kaibao, honey, so they can see how you do it with the kaibao.
If you use the kaibao, you can do like this.
The great thing about this tool also is, if you're traveling like we do a lot, and we just like to camp and travel and hike, those type of things, you don't want to take a lot of equipment. You want to be able to make something fast on the go. This tool will do everything, literally, that a food processor or a mandolin will do.
And this one you can make salad too. You can do like that and you put on salad. It's really good and look.
Yeah. So in the bowl, we've got jicama and carrot, mint, and that's it so far, right, Min?
Yeah.
Jicama, carrot, and mint. And mix everything together. Okay. I think she's getting ready now to make the wrappers. And again, you can make them with rice paper wrappers, but the rice paper wrappers, of course, are not raw food because it's rice that's been cooked. And then I've seen actually how they make it. They cook it, they put it in a wicker basket. They spread the rice on a wicker basket and they dry it out in the sun. If you ever buy rice paper and you look at it, you will see the indentations from the basket on the rice because they still make it by hand over there in Vietnam. Let me take one just to show. I got it. So she's making these thin little slices, and that's what we're going to roll them up in. And another great thing about this is it's fun. You know, this is fun food to make. You know, you can have fun while you're doing it. It's very creative. But you can see how easy it is. She's overlapping the zucchini. And depending on how big the zucchini is, you know, size matters. Depending on how big the zucchini is, if it's a real big fat zucchini, use 2 rolls. And again, she's being artistic. She takes a couple little pieces of mint and puts it so they'll stick out of the top there. So she's rolling them up, and it's so simple and it's so easy. You just can't get it wrong. The only thing you have to be careful of is when you pick it up, you want to make sure that you pick it up in a way that it stays together. And once you see it, you'll realize how to do that. It's not something I can explain to you, but you just kind of pick it up so that the part that's loose, you know, you're holding that with your fingers. You got the sauce recipe, how simple that was. Orange juice, tahini, miso, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of chili. Again, simplicity.
We're here at the Tree Life Cafe in Patagonia, and we're gonna do a pizza today. It's gonna be low glycemic food. So what we're gonna do, we have the dry ingredients in first. We're gonna add a little bit of Italian seasoning, about a 1/4 cup. Add a little bit of hing. This here is Himalayan salt. It's a 92 mineral rock salt. It's a little bit of cayenne. Really good for circulation of the blood. Adds a little kick, a little spice. Black pepper is the other element we have here. Minced cilantro. I'm gonna put that in. 1 cup of minced cilantro. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add our wet ingredients. So we're gonna put a pair of gloves on. We're gonna massage the dough. So we're aiming for a cookie dough-like texture, a very dry texture. I'm just gonna toss this around a little bit and just kind of get the dry ingredients mixed. And we're gonna put a little bit of red bell pepper. So this is minced red bell pepper. Probably about, 1.5 cups. So now we're gonna basically massage the dough. Next step is forming the pizza crust. So we have our ball of dough. So here we go. It's like a pottery wheel. Spinning your dough. Okay, now I'm just pushing down in the center. So, and I'm just pushing it down. So once you've kind of gotten your dough spread out, The next step is to use your thumbs, and you just kind of press into this kind of design, this sort of wave-like design. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the Teflex. So we can't dry it like this, otherwise it doesn't dry very well. So we're going to put a dehydrator tray underneath the pizza crust. We have our mesh sheet over the top, and then we're putting in another tray. Flip the pizza up in the air. Peel off. So that's the way of removing the Teflex. Flip it up in the air again. You can dehydrate this overnight if you want to. Definitely gives more of like a cracker-like texture, a little bit more of a crispy kind of texture. So we're going to put in the dehydrator. Up to 3 hours is fine. So there's one other element. What you want to do is you want to create some sort of vegetable kind of medley. So dice some bell pepper, zucchini, cilantro, a little bit of salt, pepper, 1/4 cup of Italian seasoning, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne, a couple tablespoons of lemon juice, 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. So we put that together and marinated them, and then you can spread them on a dehydrator tray and just let them basically dehydrate for a few hours. And it kind of warms up the vegetables and, you know, just soaking up some of those herbs and those spices. Now the next step is basically we're going to make a tomato sauce. 2 cups of sun-dried tomatoes. We're going to put a little bit of bell pepper in. We're going to kind of go for a little bit of a thicker kind of texture of a sauce, something that it's really easy to sort of spread on a pizza crust. So we have our bell pepper, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So you could use lemon juice or lime juice. 3 tablespoons of Kalamata water. So this adds a little bit of a saltiness. Has the olive kind of flavor with a little bit of saltiness. Eighth to 1/4 teaspoon of hing. You could also use garlic. 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. A little Italian seasoning. So this is actually a combination of oregano, marjoram, thyme, and basil. 3 tablespoons of tomato water, which is here. So this is the water that we had from soaking the sun-dried tomatoes. A little pinch of Himalayan salt. We'll put a little bit of black pepper in also. So this is, we'll do about 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. What we're going to do is we're going to basically process the Vitamix with the plunger. And we're just going to get that kind of thicker sort of texture. Okay, so that's our tomato sauce. So we're just going to leave that. We're going to move on to the cheese. So we're going to do a walnut cheese. Walnuts are very high in vitamin E and omega-3s. So it's a good choice to make a cheese with. So what we're going to do first is we're going to grind our nuts. Now this is an initial grind. Okay. Now we're going to add our other ingredients. 3 to 4 tablespoons of Kalamata water. So we have our liquid ingredients in there. Put a little bit of Italian seasoning. So around about 3 tablespoons. About a quarter teaspoon of hing. Around about maybe 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon of salt to start. You can always add a little bit more salt later on. Our minced cilantro going back in. I think that's pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the machine on. So this is a nice texture here. Our next step is basically assembling the pizza. So we're gonna spread our cheese on first. So a nice even spread of cheese. Now the next element is gonna be spreading your sauce. All right, and then we're gonna put our veggies on. Okay, and then you can pack it down a little bit. So if you have any questions, just give us a call and email us, and then come and see us. treeoflife.nu.
Hello, I'm Victoria Butenko. Welcome to the Raw Family Kitchen. Today, I will demonstrate how to prepare green smoothie. Green smoothie is the most palatable way of consuming greens. Why do I consider greens to be the prime source of nutrition? Because greens are the only living thing that could transform sunshine into energy that we can consume. I believe that we cannot be totally nourished if we do not consume enough greens. It is when we consume greens, we nourish our body on a cellular level with all necessary nutrition, and our hunger or feeling of deprivation goes away. You can make green smoothie out of any greens and any fruits. I have here, I have celery greens, I have chard, I have here kale, and I have romaine lettuce and arugula. And you can even make greens out of the weeds. And in fact, this is my favorite. You can pick up dandelions from the backyard or from the path where you hike, and then you could mix it in a delicious green smoothie. Greens are the prime source of nutrition for not only humans but for many living creatures. Up to 30% of greens is protein. That's where the cows get their proteins, because cows don't eat other cows. Cows just eat lots of greens. So how do we make green smoothie? I would like to make green smoothie with chard. So I'm going to put some chard in the Vitamix blender. And you can use any blender, but the high-speed blender is the best. And then I'm going to put some fruit. And I love to put berries because berries have low glycemic index. Berries have low glycemic index. And then we put some water in it. And I like to add some dandelions to it. Dandelions are my favorite. Dandelions are highest in calcium plant in the world. And then just make some noise, blend it, and then that will be green smoothie. When the greens are broken down in a blender to very small particles, even to a molecular level, then your body will be nourished on a cellular level, and that will end up your cravings, your feeling of deprivation, your unhealthy appetite, and you will feel nourished and fulfilled at all times. Then you can concentrate on your dreams, and then you could do whatever is the greatest mission of our life is. Enjoy!
Hello and welcome to the set of our brand new uncooking show, Sexy Bitches Like It Raw.
If you're ever in doubt how you might go about what you said, you're hard to. And right here in this now, we will show you just how you can play like we do. It would be such a crime if you didn't take the time to cultivate all the seeds you could sow. Once you give it a try, you won't ever deny why sexy bitches like it raw.
Eating raw foods is the healthiest thing that you can do for your body.
When you go to the farmer's market, you have the opportunity to speak to the people who are actually growing your food. They are putting their love and their life into what you are putting into your mouth and your body. Sounds like fun, huh?
We're gonna teach you some extremely simple and fast things you can do under 5 minutes to make. Today, we're gonna make a salad. Fresh and new. We got avocado, we got beets.
Bust out the beats, yo.
Turn up the beats. But as you can see, we already made the salad, cause you gotta be pretty stupid to not be able to throw together a salad.
What? Dressing is like the bling on a salad.
Bling on a salad.
So, this dressing is extremely easy to make.
Simple.
Yes, one of my favorite things. We started with a little bit of garlic oil. We showed you how to make
garlic.
Add some tahini.
Tahini.
Hey, stop saying what I say, man. Little bit of miso. Hey, pass me the lemon squeezer.
Lemon squeeze.
It's really nice to have you a nice lemon squeezer. Stick it in. Stick it in. This helps you to extract the juice of the lemon. All right, so that's it. I make this every morning.
Oh, not now.
What did I say? Follow oatmeal.
That's right, I said sexy.